the management of the economy by this government, and in the case of tourism, Minister Edmund Bartlett, despite the trends that have gone against us. So we have to factor the global economy as we chart a way forward to build on what we can control. Now, what can we control? We can control the business environment to facilitate growth and economic activity by simplifying the process, reducing cost, reducing transaction time and cost. The manifesto articulates an approach on how we will create an environment for businesses to stimulate entrepreneurship. When those ideas have been fleshed out, we will facilitate through shorter transaction time and cost the setup of these businesses, which will facilitate private sector-led investment. The PNP in their manifesto spoke of an online transactions in order to facilitate faster processing of business activity, including registration of business and so on. I say again, as minister responsible for that particular area, it is another redundant statement. We are well in advance of that process under this government and this minister. In fact, the super form is almost complete, and by the first quarter of next year, we will have online transaction with a super form where businesses can fill out one form instead of visiting several agencies in order to complete the registration process of a business. We do not need, I say with confidence to the business community, you don't need a PNP government in order to facilitate that. We're well advanced in making sure that that takes place. We will encourage the development of competitive industries and sectors through legislation and regulation. We will, in the next term, and we will see significant progress in the first 2 quarters of next year in terms of our insolvency laws, which is fundamental towards encouraging entrepreneurship. We take the view that if we had modern day insolvency laws, then FinSAC would not be nearly as bad as it was, because companies would be given a chance to restructure rather than just shutting down and disposal of assets in order to pay creditors. We are well in advance of, in conjunction with the private sector organization of Jamaica, of looking at our insolvency laws to modernize them. We will implement legislation already passed to deal with the credit bureau. In fact, I've had discussions with the BOJ on a couple of occasions. We are well advanced considering applications to get that credit bureau up and running, another critical facilitator of business activity. We expect that that will be on stream and in place during the first 2 quarters of next year. We will and we can empower MSMEs, small, micro, medium-sized businesses. The manifesto speaks to that. By the first quarter of next year, a MSME policy will be tabled for implementation. That is well in advance. In fact, I'm now reviewing that policy proposal. It will go to cabinet by January, and we will table it. A proposal again by the PNP manifesto, which there's no need for because it is well in train. We are working with a number of agencies to fund small and micro and medium-sized businesses. In fact, an announcement will be made in the first quarter of next year in conjunction with DBJ, where $100 million initially will be made available for capacity building for small, micro, and medium-sized businesses. We are ahead of the game in that respect again. In terms of legislation to support geographical indication or the local authentic products, that again is a well advanced process. The GI laws, which were passed some time ago, we are now working with a number of small players representing particular authentic products like Jamaica jerk, Jamaica rum, Jamaican Blue Mountain coffee. By the middle of next year, those 3 products, and we have others we're working on, once they are registered, and we have to go through a process, will become authentic Jamaican products, which means they can only be manufactured here in Jamaica using Jamaican raw material if they are to be branded as Jamaica Jerk. It's going to open up significant opportunities for small players and our small farmers who supply the raw material and protect our local brands and boost the export sector, which I know that the PNP Manifesto speaks of. Again, it's a work in train. We're working on other larger sectors for job creation purposes and improvement in economic activity. We have proposals to deal with the logistics center, which involves shipping, focusing on bunkering, crewing, and dry docking. It's outlined in the manifesto. We believe that our port facilities are positioned strategically based on our geographic location and based on what is happening in Panama with the Panama Canal. We can offer a complementary set of services if we make significant investments in and around our port facilities. There's a major plan to do that, and that we believe will stimulate significant opportunities in a number of areas. Already we're preparing the personnel for that. Jamaica College has a feeder program where its students transition to the Caribbean Maritime Institute. The Caribbean Maritime Institute also has expanded their student population by several multiples, and there's further expansion to come. So we're working also on the human potential side of developing that process. In terms of tourism, casino legislation will be officially in effect, we hope, by the end of the first quarter of next year. In fact, we're using the offices of JAMPRO to establish the official commission, the location of the commission. As you know, the legislation has been passed. There are other elements of it, the regulations that has to be passed. Now that is critical because that is going to facilitate the expansion of major tourism development that is currently in train. There are at least 2 major mega projects that are in the final stages of securing financing and other types of infrastructure designs, which we hope will be officially ready for groundbreaking during the first quarter, if not the second quarter of next year, which will result in thousands of additional hotel rooms and jobs being created. It's outlined in the manifesto. We have a plan to create a much more, a larger and more interactive hotel or tourism program. In addition to that, we're looking at other areas of tourism to diversify the tourism product. Health tourism is one such. There are others outlined in the manifesto. As we speak, JAMPRO is working with the Ministry of Tourism to develop a strategy to promote health tourism, and we have at least one investor who has expressed an interest to invest in Jamaica in that area. We believe that over the next 10 years, we can move from 30,000 hotel rooms to 50,000 hotel rooms, and the multiplier impact of that in terms of the farmers supplying the produce, the manufacturers supplying the bed linen and so on is significant. JAMPRO is working with the Ministry of Tourism to create an expanded product directly, but also expand on the linkage program in order to get the spin-offs that are necessary. That more details of that are outlined in the manifesto. In ICT, PNP again has said that they intend to expand ICT. They may not have seen our 5-point plan, and so we advise them to visit our website, because ICT is one of the pillars of our job creation and economic expansion program, starting now, not just going forward, but starting now. 2 weeks ago, we announced one of the largest American ICT investors. I think they're the second or third, Converges. Over the last 3 months, I've been involved with my team at JAMPRO in negotiations, and we have landed that investor here. They will provide immediately 1,000 jobs, additional jobs in the new year in Montego Bay. And we are working on them because there is a commitment, if certain things are put in place, which we are committed to, that could be multiplied up to 3,000 jobs over time, both between Montego Bay and Kingston. And this is not the low-end call centers. In fact, we're moving away from just calling them call centers. These are jobs that requires technical human skills to provide advice and servicing on financial services. So in North America, when you call your bank, if you're an American, a Jamaican answers the phone and looks at your account and can give you all the necessary technical services. So the type of ICT that we're going after, based on the 5-point plan, is to utilize as high as university degree students who will get a compensation that is in excess of, or at least comparable to what they would get in traditional financial services here in Jamaica. Jamaica is ripe for that type of expansion based on our location, English language, work-study location, and all the investors we have spoken to have said to us, this is an area that they're interested in. We expect to expand that sector significantly. We do not need the PNP to advise us on that with respect. We already have a plan to deal with ICT. Creative industry is the same thing. JAMPRO has a unit dealing with that. This year you may have recalled that one of our largest locally funded major Jamaican film, Get a Life, was launched. And what a good production that has been. That is a tangible example of our commitment to the creative industry, and that process will continue. In terms of mining, and in particular limestone mining, JAMPRO is currently in the process of completing, working with the Ministry of Energy and Mining, a development program for the limestone industry. Jamaica has superior quality limestone, but we want to get into limestone not just as a commodity, but at the level of chemical limestone, processed limestone. We have more limestone deposits than bauxite, and I mean when bauxite was plentiful. And we believe we can develop that industry in an orderly way and in a more value-added way. The big challenge, we will admit, is to solve the issue of energy, because it is an energy-intensive process. And the Prime Minister spoke to that, the manifesto speaks to that. It's an area that we're going to be working very aggressively on, we feel can create significant jobs. Agro-processing is also a major area of focus. The Ministry of Agriculture and the farmers of Jamaica have consistently improved in output over the last 4 years under this government. We have seen since 2007 a 17% increase in the volume of production, local production. More Jamaicans are eating local, more prefer to eat local, and our farmers are responding to the policies and programs of this government, and we now need to integrate that into a value-added process. That is going to be blended with the geographical indication law to protect our brands and to boost our export strategy of our local agro-processors. We have a plan for that, and that plan, I may add, is being better managed currently under this government. In terms of health, quickly, the no user fee policy will continue. We are under no ambiguity, as the PNP seems to be, as it relates to this policy. 88% more people, according to figures from the Ministry of Health, since 2007 are now accessing our public health care facilities. Many of those persons would literally stay home and avoid going to the doctor because they could not afford to line up and pay the user fee prior to September 2007. We have solved that problem. We're not saying it's perfect. It's a work in progress. It means more traffic into the hospitals. It means longer waiting times. However, if you ask me, a Jamaican who has to wait an extra hour or two but will get some help at the end of the day, or one who doesn't go at all because he can get no help, seems to me going and waiting an hour or two is better for the time being than not having access at all. And we are committed to improving and continuing that program. In terms of primary health care, we have upgraded more than 60 health clinics and plan to do more as we restructure the healthcare system to improve facilities available. There will be an improved level of health care closer to citizens, many of whom, through these health clinics, have to travel long distances. The manifesto outlines the focus on dealing with the clinics to provide